Timmy. Folks, we've all been there before. You're at that new local, artisanal, farm-to-table Aloe Pilates matcha coffee shop. You order your iced vanilla latte. They flip that iPad screen around. It's $12 plus tip. You say whatever. Squiggle your signature on the screen, and 7 minutes later, they call your name and hand you 12 ounces of the most mid coffee you've ever had in your life, topped with vanilla syrup you literally watch them pour straight out of the Great Value bottle. And to add insult to injury, the barista was straight. How do I know the barista was straight? That's besides the point. The point is, it's Pride Month, and that latte was basically homophobic. And now you're sitting in the corner of a place called like the Hole's Bean, performatively reading Sylvia Plath, and you think to yourself, I should have just gone to Dunkin'. This is really a specific example that has nothing to do with my personal experiences.
I got the Dunkin' bucket! The limited release, obviously, which is why I had to...
But I digress. It isn't just coffee shops. At least at the Hole's Bean, there's a physical space to enjoy, a sense of community. But with the advent of the internet and e-commerce, now every asshole with a 3D printer, a screen printer, or a regular printer is hustling bullshit on Etsy and beyond. Perhaps you have noticed this wonderful YouTuber shirt that I'm wearing. Why am I wearing a shirt that says my job on it? That's a great question. Here's a better question. Is this design AI generated? Because the minute I saw this, I thought, this is the most AI generated thing I've ever seen in my life. The lines make no sense, they're lopsided, the font is a mess, the pattern blends into itself. This is screaming AI, and not particularly sophisticated AI. But here's the thing, this shirt was a gift from my mom, who doesn't know what AI slop looks like. But we all do, because we are cursed with knowledge. And I looked it up and I found this art on Zazzle from Yadi Cell, who I guess is hustling AI t-shirt designs out of Indonesia. And even worse, Zazzle apparently prints on Bella Plus Canvas Blanks, who is the parent company of Aloe Yoga, who are longtime friends of the show. And my mom, by the way, also got me this hoodie from a different seller that, of course, shouts out your favorite YouTuber, Marc Linsco. Marc Linsco. And I will say, on their own, each one of these pieces of apparel would be infuriating, but together, it's a performance art. I will wear these proudly, and frankly, this is proof that divine hands are guiding this channel, and we will reach 10 billion subscribers. However, just because I'm okay with wearing the ChatGPT, apparel, doesn't mean that everybody else is. Because while the advent of dropshipping and the ensuing shitification of basically every online shopping marketplace has been long discussed, it's not just that Etsy is now Amazon, which is now itself Temu. There are also plenty of genuine small business owners on these platforms producing absolute dog shit. It's not just low quality junk being brought over in bulk from China. It's also low quality junk being made right here. Because everybody wants to be an artist now, but ain't nobody want to create art. And you don't have to be a corporation either to be creatively bankrupt and have atrocious business practices. You can be a scumbag at any level of success. So today I want to take a look at a few examples from recent months of controversies involving small art businesses and see where the line between silly and slop truly is. From coffee shop controversy to vendor slop to book talk drama, it does seem like a lot of your local farm-to-table artisans have been getting a bad rap recently. And I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. And 2 quick notes, by the way. If I look more unwell than usual, it's because it's 79 degrees in here. My AC isn't working. And if you hear random construction noises throughout this video, that's construction. Apparently my neighbors have decided to install a Gatling gun from World War II on their roofs today. Alright, here we go. But before we get into that, I need to address some of the propaganda I've been seeing online, because this video is brought to you by Beyond Meat. A lot of people say a lot of things about plant-based meat online, but here at marcinsco, we bring you only the facts. And the fact is, while people act like Beyond Meat is some mystery food, when you look at the ingredients list, the story is actually pretty simple. Beyond's plant-based meats are made with avocado oil, provide a complete protein profile, and most importantly, are delicious. Seriously, I'm no vegan, alright, but neither are most of Beyond Meat's consumers. It's a lot of people just looking to add more plant-based options into their diet. And with burgers that look this good, shared with a couple friends, I can understand why.
That's pretty good, actually.
Oh my god, that's so good.
It's good. It's really good. It's got great burger flavor, great vibes, temperature's great. What more can you ask for? Beyond Meat. Approved. Beyond Meat. It's got the seal of approval from marcinsco and friends. Honestly, I'm mad that it took me this long to give Beyond Meat a try. There's so much misinformation out there about plant-based burgers. Like, I've seen people saying they have too much sodium while ignoring the fact that Beyond Meat burgers are pre-seasoned, all right? So you can't compare it to just raw beef you get from the grocery store, which if you're serving unseasoned beef at your cookout, all right, don't bother sending me an invite. But I'm not here to tell you what to eat. I'm just saying before you listen to the loudest voices online, look at the label yourself and give it a shot. You can check out the link below to get my favorite Beyond Meat products. And thank you again to Beyond for sponsoring this video. Now, I admit, I have not been personally victimized by 3D printed tchotchkes, but I have heard that this is a big issue. Mainly, I haven't experienced this because I don't go to art conventions, because I don't really go outside, period. But also because I always feel awkward going to art markets like that, because you are essentially walking by booth after booth, quietly judging people's life work in front of them. Yeah, nice wood burning, Martha. Not the best I've seen, but keep it up.
I would never hang any of these on my walls.
I prefer flea markets where, the thing I'm trying to buy was made by somebody who's been dead for 80 years, or at a bare minimum, is not physically present with us in the tent. There's less emotion involved, that's all I'm saying in a vintage setup, versus having to look someone dead in the eyes as you slowly back away from their table of Halloween trinkets that have been inspired by the home goods clearance aisle. But the point is, at both art shows and flea markets the world beyond, there are people hustling 3D printed plastic figurines, and that is more or less the equivalent of the guy who made this AI generated shirt opening up a brick and mortar location, which I guess I respect the ballsiness, because I'm not talking about people who are making original 3D designs of their own characters or their own takes on big IPs. I'm talking about people who go onto printables.com and download the file for a dragon that has been downloaded, 140,000 times. Downloaded 140,000 times, so printed a million times? Who knows? And that's just one design. Again, there's nothing wrong with 3D printed art, but if you're 3D printing art, then the art of the 3D print isn't making the 3D design. If you're just downloading somebody else's design and hitting the print button, that's not art, that's photocopying. And I'm pretty sure selling photocopies of other people's art is stealing. And even if it wasn't, who the f wants to buy that? It's like buying a paint by numbers that's already been painted, or a coloring book that's already been colored in. Come on down and download the new and improved Khaleesi egg. Weird merman plush not included. I think they're actually putting a trebuchet on that building. And there's a bunch of ancillary questions to the vendor slop issue. Number one being that as this explosion of 3D printed dragons and octopuses has been largely successful, the hardworking factory owners of AliExpress have responded in kind, and now you can just buy these things for a fucking $1. So you don't even need a 3D printer anymore. You can just buy in bulk from China and resell at your local Ren fair. This isn't spiritually Temu anymore. This is just Temu. And number two, these Temu dragons might literally be better quality than the homemade ones, because a lot of these guys don't know how to make a high quality 3D print. As you may know, 3D printers work by layering a string of hot plastic essentially into a design, but it leaves behind ridges from the filament. So you have to do something to reduce those, usually by sanding and or painting or doing some kind of chemical smoothing. But all that requires time and effort and maybe even a bit of skill. And so a lot of the bullshit you see people selling is unsanded, unpainted, and unloved pieces of plastic. Unsanded, unpainted, and unloved. I can relate to at least one of those. And lastly, I see a lot of people complaining about the price of these things, and I guess that's fair. I've seen some demure price tags and others that seemed bolder, but the price doesn't matter if the thing is worthless. The question here should not be, is the plastic dragon slop worth $12 or $30? The question is this art? Which it's not. And it's not to disrespect the hobbyists again, or the people making their own designs, But for the slopsters, stop that.
That if the only thing you make is segmented 3D printed dragons, I don't think you should be allowed at the handcrafted makers market. Is that so crazy?
Yes, because you're trying to invalidate the amount of work that people put into making these things. 3D printing any object, including the little flexi dragons, takes a lot of technical knowledge and time and effort. There's failures, hands-on maintenance that needs to be done, and lots of fine-tuning to get the best possible result, which this is not. This guy's got problems. Problems that even the most advanced printers run into. And even after the print is done, there's often a post-processing phase. And no, not always.
Okay, so basically the entire argument of why printer slop should count as handmade is because the printers require maintenance. Again, if I print out a copy of the Mona Lisa with my HP inkjet printer, and there's a paper jam while I'm doing that, so I have to clear the paper jam from the printer in order to get the print of the Mona Lisa, does that make me Leonardo fucking da Vinci at the end? I also have to clean my Keurig machine every once in a while, and wipe my ass. Also every once in a while. I'm sorry, you don't get extra credit for doing maintenance. Please, carry on.
Bothers me that someone who is an artist, who has probably been on the receiving end of unwanted criticisms and insults and been misunderstood about the things that they make and create, can turn around and do that to an entirely separate group of people, unprovoked. And even if you still think that none of this counts as handmade stuff, I don't understand the decision to walk into the den of the Flexi Dragon and provoke an entire community when you may end up next to us at a booth at a maker fair.
Well, what the fuck does that mean? Is this guy threatening other artists? Are you threatening me, Mr. Printmeister? What does that even mean, dude? Like, I don't sell stuff at art fairs, clearly. But I'm sure if you want people to come up to you in person and tell you to your face that your shit stinks, that can be arranged. Oh, nice plastic dragons, dude. Are these coming from or going to the landfill? I love the way the filament is just like peeling off the ends. I can really tell the craftsmanship that went into pressing the print button on this one. I get that conversations about what counts as art can be toxic, and people often go overboard out of saltiness that their own art is not being recognized. But just because salty, starving artists can be mean, doesn't mean the question of is 3D printed dragons art is invalid. It doesn't make that question invalid, because it's not art, and maybe attitudes will change over time, and I will hate that if they do, but I'm allowed to feel a certain type of way about AI-generated books and art and 3D printed slop. This whole conversation really came to a head in the last few weeks with one particular 3D print vendor, Rosie's Woodshop, who went on TikTok to complain that she went to a market that had 20,000 people and sold nothing. Which I guess she's a woodshop because she sells a few pieces of wood? I don't know, is that plank? Is that fucking plank? Draw a face on that, and that is literally plank from Ed, Edd, and Eddy. But you know, she sells mostly 3D printed shit, and it's like Rosie. I would love to pretend that I feel bad for you, but your offer just doesn't make sense. Why would I want a 3D printed plastic vase when metal or glass vases, you guys know what I mean. When you can buy those which are superior and also cheaper. I mean, how much does a glass vase cost from Home Goods? $3? Why would I want a $30 plastic alternative? And Rosie got eviscerated for this on TikTok. Predictably. I was there, you still had leftover pieces from a printer on your items. Bringing 3D printed stuff to a craft fair is like bringing a frozen meal to a cooking competition. And on, and on. And I will bring this up because it will be a running theme for the rest of this video, but if you are a small business / artist, do not ever go on social media and complain about not getting sales. The likelihood that you are a hidden gem that, you know, just hasn't been discovered yet is infinitesimally small compared to the chance that there is something glaringly wrong with your business or art, and now 800,000 people are about to chime in on it. If you're not getting sales, you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, you know, what the issue could be. You should not be doing this like, yeah, if a hot girl can get 1,000 likes, how many can my 3D printed slop get? If 20,000 people saw your art at an art fair and kept walking, there's a problem with your art. And by the way, the 3D printed slopsters who graduate from like art fairs to bigger business is some of the most Black Mirror shit I've ever seen in my life. There are a ton of TikTok shop live sellers doing 3D printed stuff, including one called a Creation Circus, which I don't know if they're doing creation, but it's definitely a circus. And it's again another family-run, farm-to-table, 105 printer 3D printing operation complete with Fido looking up microplastics from the ground. And whatever's trending, this family is selling. I mean, they've got 3D printed rainbow dumplings, they've got 3D printed ice cream holders, I guess so your hand doesn't cramp while you're railing a pint of Ben & Jerry's for the 4th night in a row. They're also hustling like giant batteries on TikTok Shop, I guess to diversify their income stream.
If you've always wanted to take your 3D printer on a walk, I've got the perfect solution for you, and it is the Jackery Explorer 2000.
Well, that's good. I actually think I could use a giant battery for my 3D printer. That way, no matter where I am scrolling TikTok, I can always 3D print a gun. We have 10 years max before societal collapse, by the way. I mean, go to my link on TikTok Shop to get a portable battery that is big enough to power your 3D printer on the go. Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks. And the sort of pinnacle of the 3D printing entrepreneurship pyramid is wiglets, which are these 3D printed goobers your kids can buy by the bagful, which is absolutely the mark of a toy that's not going to end up in the trash in about 5 seconds, all right, when your kids go buy them by the pound. But anyway, the wiglets guys are essentially running AI data centers, but with 3D printers instead. I mean, it looks like they are spinning up Skynet in a warehouse in Utah. And of course they're based in Utah. Of course they're based in Utah. The most devout place in America, and yet from wiglets to 190 grams of sugar soda, they keep producing the most unholy exports imaginable. Your 3D goods are not just spiritually AI, they're spiritually Mormon. And these guys, just like many other 3D print businesses, by the way, really love jerking their wiglet to the idea of their toys being made from sustainable plant-based material, which is technically true. PLA filament is way better than a petroleum-based alternative in terms of carbon footprint, sure. However, if it's not sent to a industrial composting facility, which, let's be honest, nobody's properly disposing of a wiglet, it will still take centuries to break down. So take heart in that at least. Long after you die and civilization collapses, your Labubu and your wiglet will still have each other. How beautiful. Alright, hot girls read. And apparently they've been reading a little too much US trademark law. That was a low blow. What's going on here? Well, a woman by the name of Allie Rose runs Allie Rose Co., a sort of book talk adjacent, comfy online store hustling bookmarks, stationery, and apparel, much of which features the phrase, hot girls read. And since this is about to take a left turn anyway, I'll just start hating right out of the gate. It's not even like the phrase has a particular stylization or font or anything. It's literally just the phrase in different Canva designs slapped on whatever, each of which look like they took 6 minutes to make. And yes, the controversy is, of course, if you've heard of this, Allie Rose attempted to trademark the phrase, hot girls read, a phrase which is ubiquitous beyond belief in book talk circles. And not only did she trademark hot girls read, she also like rolled it out on Instagram saying that this is like 3 years in the making and there's a new Hot Girls Read drop coming to celebrate. And in a separate Instagram story, she put, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Hey girlies, if you sell bookmarks, stickers, or clothes that say Hot Girls Read, stop it right now or my lawyers will fucking murder you. Thanks girlies, hey, thanks. Very gently with peace and love. My lawyers are going to flay you alive so I can wear you as a skin suit. Very gently with peace and love." What is with these like artsy small businesses passive aggressively threatening other small businesses? Like the Printmeister from before, Allie Rose, I thought you were supposed to be the good guys. And the backlash to this was as predictable as it was swift. Some of those other small businesses selling Hot Girls Read merch put out their own statements. Allie Rose's comment section became a war zone. People were pulling tweets of the phrase being used as early as 2009 because, yeah, of course, Allie did not invent that phrase. And so, you know, the ukulele had to come out.
But more importantly, I want to say I'm so sorry to every small business that I harmed in doing this. The decision was made more as like a business strategy decision than a human being decision.
Oh, we know. We know. Somebody commented Christopher Columbus. I also reject that this was a business strategy decision, because even as a business strategy decision, this was a terrible business move. As Allie's own Demon Time IG story suggests, trademarks only work if you're willing to defend them. It doesn't matter if you've filed and got the trademark. Are you willing to start suing other people to enforce it? Because otherwise you lose the trademark. This is why the whole thing with Patagonia, the clothing brand, who is suing Patagonia, the drag queen, over trademark infringement, is a similar story. In that case, Patagonia is suing just for $1 because they clearly don't want this PR. Nobody wants to be suing a drag queen during Pride Month, I would assume. But they need their trademark to not be used on Patagonia's merch, otherwise their trademark can be challenged in other places. So very gently with peace and love, you were about to potentially get embroiled in lawsuits with God knows how many other small businesses, the optics of which would be terrible for your business in addition to the cost of actually suing them, even if you didn't go about rolling this whole trademark thing out in such a weird celebratory way. Does that make sense? There is no way that this was going to be a good business move, because there was no way that this ends in a non-PR disaster with a mountain of legal bills to boot. Yeah, unless you were about to start selling hot girls sue small businesses merchandise as well. Maybe that is an angle I haven't considered. I mean, is it greed? Is it human hubris? How do you end up doing this? Allie started this brand during COVID, like so many other Etsy shops that we now enjoy, all of which started when people were bored in their house, and she's been running it for like 5 to 6 years now, full time. You have apparently discovered an infinite money glitch called putting hot girls read on everything, and you fucked it up. For what? There's probably 8 million bookish Shopify, Etsy shops out there, and now you're the one that everybody only knows is the lady who tried becoming the Grim Reaper of book talk shops. Congratulations, you played yourself. Now, despite my little vignette from the top of this video, I appreciate an artisanal coffee shop. I'm willing to pay a premium for that experience. I don't care that I could save money, making coffee at home. Everybody said, it's only 30 cents to make a coffee at home. Shut up. I want the special coffee that costs $7 plus tip. Sue me. Allie Rose, don't sue me. That was not a suggestion for you. So anyway, with everything that's going on in the world, I want to end on a feel-good local story of a small coffee shop owner in Tennessee who got brutally murdered by a mob of TikTokers for selling lattes for $10. Let me explain. The Prickly Pear Coffee Company out of Nashville, Tennessee, and their owner, Annika, got in some controversy because in addition to your usual coffee shop offerings, Prickly Pear also offers these novelty split cup drinks where you can get 2 different 12-ounce drinks in one. And according to TikTok commenters, this is a scam, and Prickly Pear Coffee Company should be burnt to the ground. Let's take a look at the TikTok that started this firestorm.
I was like, I'm gonna do something when I get home after I drink them. I'm gonna put it in a venti Starbucks cup, because this is what I usually get, like my refreshers. This cup is $6. If I get a venti refresher, it's usually about $6 and some odd change, right? This was $12. This is not full all the way with water because there's no ice in this. They put ice in it when they give you a refresher. Venti, Starbucks cup. $6 and some change when I get a refresher. Look at this. Add ice to that. That's just as much as you get in a split cup thing for half of the price. I'm never going to Prickly Pear again. I'm so irritated about it.
Once again, this is why I keep saying that we have 10 years before civilization finally mercifully collapses. This is real discourse that is happening. We are learning that 2 half drinks equals 1 drink. That on TikTok, this is what we're doing. I'm assuming next week Katie here will be also discovering object permanence. We're doing 0.5 plus 0.5 equals 1. Okay. And we've done this before, okay, with Cakegate, which I've talked about in the past, where people were mad that home bakers charged more than Walmart for a fucking cake, even though the cakes at Walmart are made with like buttercream style icing and are made in a fucking factory. And even there, was there a sense of entitlement from the home bakers? Yes, some of them were being weird. And that's why I said earlier in the video, if you're a small business owner, stop it. Do not argue with people on TikTok. I get it that it's annoying to see people in your comment section being like, I can get a cake from Walmart for 1/3 of the price. You gotta let it go. If you owned a real brick and mortar bakery, nobody would walk in there, look around and be like, actually I can get a cheaper cake from Walmart. Nobody would fucking do that. It's the internet. Let it go. You're on TikTok, where the lowest form of cave-dwelling Homo sapiens congregate. These people are not your customers. Stop it. And it's the same thing going on here. Why don't you guys support local coffee shops? This is why. and that has 100,000 likes. This is poverty of the mind. Poverty of the soul, not real financial poverty. This is the entitled consumeroid mind virus that has infected half of America, where everything needs to be as cheap as it is at Temu and at McDonald's, otherwise it's a scam. You know Starbucks is cheaper? Oh, really? Oh, Starbucks is cheaper? Starbucks, the place that has, what, 28,000 locations and will break their baristas' kneecaps if they try to unionize? Oh, that place is able to sell matcha for cheaper than the lady who's doing it with fucking 2 locations in Nashville. With the split cup novelty cups, by the way, which is, again, it's a gimmick, all right? Nobody is ordering that every single day. And Annika, the owner here, is not blameless, okay, by any stretch of the imagination, because she made a response video, for some reason, explaining the costs that go into the split cup and how it breaks down to cost $10, which is not something she should have ever done. These random TikTok commenters, again, they're not your customers, okay? Do 100,000 people even live in Nashville? Don't answer that. I don't know. Because then she had to make another apology after the first apology where she refunded the original TikToker, Katie. It's ridiculous. Stop it. There's nothing to learn here. The only thing to learn is people are entitled losers. Do the people of TikTok know that there's this magical thing when you walk into a coffee shop or a restaurant called a menu? And on this, there's this magical thing called a price. And that thing called a price is how you know how much something costs. Also on the iPad that they flip around before you pay, it says how much it costs. If you don't like it, walk away or, buy it and don't come back. How is this a real discourse? This is where I get lost in the TikTok sauce. We're not talking about the price of gas. We're not talking about the price of groceries. We are talking about the cost of novelty split cup matcha lattes. Oh my God, should we call the local news? Should we call Bella Hadid? Do you go to the movie theater and go up to the popcorn guy who's charging $10 for 30 cents of fucking popcorn and start arguing with him over the price? I can get 2 pounds of Orville Redenbacher at BJ's for $4. This is an unfair price for value ratio. What the fuck are you talking about? No, you swipe your card and you shut the fuck up. Or you sneak M&Ms into your pocket into the theater as the founding fathers intended. My God, the whining on TikTok is unbelievable. The word scam has no meaning anymore. Scam means taking your money through deception, okay? Scam is not something you find personally overpriced. I've seen the word scam used over and over in this instance. I've seen other YouTubers suggest that this is false advertising because it's not 2 full-size drinks, but rather one drink split into 2. It's literally called a split cup. What other information do you need to make an informed decision here? Literally just look at the cup. It's a cup split in 2. Is the entire world supposed to be organized around people who have 40 IQ now? That is my genuine question to the universe this week. And only in America, by the way, these cups are 2 12-ounce drinks, so 24 ounces of caffeine, and that's not enough. The people yearn for the 48-ounce Dunkin' bucket. Anything less is a scam.
I got the Dunkin' bucket!
Only 24 ounces of coffee. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. Folks, I am fatigued. I am fatigued with basically every hobby imaginable becoming side hustle slop. This is how you can start making $10,000 a month immediately through fucking 3D dragons. Okay? And separately, I am tired of TikTokers who are allergic to happiness. I yearn for true art. I do. I really do. But in its absence, I will settle for competence and fair value. And in the process of making this video, I've realized my own guidelines for what a good small business is. Prickly Pear Coffee has 2 locations and a coffee cart, like I've said. My own favorite coffee shop near me is La Colombe, which has 30 locations, and was also bought out by Chobani Yogurt, which is hilarious, but whatever. The problem with Hot Girls Read, she doesn't even have a single brick and mortar location. She's just doing a Shopify store. And on the other end of the spectrum, Wiglets is in every Walmart in America. So really, I've discovered what the sweet spot of small businesses is, and that's between 2 to 50 physical locations. If you have 1 or less, you're a bottom feeder and an amateur, and I simply cannot respect you. But if you have 51 locations and above, then there's probably a graveyard of necks that you stand on to get there, and also you're about 5 seconds away from being acquired by private equity. So 2 to 50 locations, okay? 2 to 50 locations, you have a proven concept, but you haven't sold your soul yet, right? Unless I guess it's to fucking Big Yogurt, but you know, who gives a fuck about that? 2 to 50 locations, you're a professional, you're not getting into arguments on TikTok. That's where I operate. I've solved it now. You guys are welcome. Capitalism, really, is just like Fortnite. Anyone who's doing worse than me is a loser. Anyone who's doing better than me is a tryhard. Anyway, I gotta call my lawyer. We're working on trademarking marcinsco.